Hi, I'm Diana Montford, the world's first transgender television journalist. You know the drill. Born male, became female, la 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 la. Anyway, my guests are two world-famous transgender activists, Ms. Julie Grey-Owens, the lady in the silver turtleneck with the white hair, and Ms. Tanya Walker, the lady in the purple cowl neck with the dark hair. And we are going to discuss, well, Julie is a very political person, as is Tanya, as am I. And to be trans is to be political, whether you want to be or not. And we are going to discuss whatever it is that Julie wants to discuss. What do you want to discuss?
I think what we're going to talk about is proposed legislation that affects the transgender community. Mm-hmm. Most people think of GENDA, the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act, as a very important piece of legislation.
Can you come a little closer?
Sure, happy to.
Okay.
And obviously that's something that we're all working on. I will mention that we're 3 days after the 2018 election.
We are shooting this on November 9th, Friday, November 9th, 2018.
And in our state, the New York State Senate has now officially flipped from Republican to the Democratic majority.
Thank you, God.
Mm-hmm. After years of...
8 years since 2018.
Yep. Exactly. So there's a very good chance that we have an opportunity to start passing progressive legislation to help protect our community.
Such as GENDA?
Well, GENDA would be the number one.
And what is GENDA?
GENDA is better known as the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act, and it is a piece of legislation that will protect transgender and non-binary people from discrimination in housing, employment, and public services.
Now let me ask you something. If President Trump manages to change the definition of gender so that only birth gender is the only gender allowed and transgender no longer exists, will our law be able to counteract that?
Yes. One of the things that is always talked about is states' rights. Mm-hmm. And usually it's used in a negative connotation, like, don't you Yankees tell us how to run our state. But in this case, it's actually reverse. In New York State, state rights would mean that our laws would protect us. Mm-hmm. And the whole purpose of the Gender Expression Non-Discrimination Act, GENDA, is to create a protected class with gender identity and gender expression. Mm-hmm. Just as race, age, point of origin,
religion, certainly, yes.
all those various protected classes, gender identity and gender expression would become a protected class. Mm-hmm. And as a result, we would finally be in an explicit law and protected in that manner.
Although New York City, which is where we actually are, already has that law, New York State does not.
That is correct.
Yes.
And the problem is that, for example, in Suffolk County, where I live, mm-hmm. we have protections.
Which is on Long Island.
Exactly.
Yes.
We cross the line into Nassau County, which is also on Long Island,
yes.
and they do not have
Isn't that amazing?
Laws.
Isn't that
You continue
unbelievable?
on, you go into Queens or Brooklyn,
mm-hmm.
you are protected because of New York City.
Right.
But once you get out of the city, you're okay in Westchester, but I believe after you start leaving Westchester, all bets are off.
Like Mount Vernon Lookout?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not sure exactly where everything is
right,
located.
Exactly.
Most of our major cities have protections, but once you get outside those cities, like for example, when I say major city, we're talking about Buffalo, Rochester, mm-hmm. and Albany. Once you get outside of them, there's no protections. Mm-hmm. So this would give unified protection across the state, which is very important.
Now, all that is wonderful, but if people don't know that we are protected, they will shoot us anyway. And the police, when we got protection in this city, the police often did not realize it, and we would have to explain to them that, excuse me, the law says, you're lying. No, the law says that we equal protection under the law, and the police would actually call us liars to our faces, completely disrespectful. We used to have to go to precinct number 6, I believe. Mm-hmm. And do sensitivity training, and this came as a revelation to these officers that we were actually on the books as a protected class. And these were police officers in New York City, in Greenwich Village.
Well, I can't speak to those specific cases, but I will tell you that that has changed over time, number one. And number two, since 2016, we've had what's called the Cuomo regulations, where Governor Cuomo actually took steps to instruct the courts to, again, we talk about sex being gender, and using it as a practice to protect us in the courts and so forth. But there is no explicit law, which is one of the reasons why we're doing it. Now, one of the things that's downplayed, because a lot of people say, well, you're already protected now. And a lot of the court cases and so forth have gone in that direction. But the key is that when gender finally does pass, after all these years, I personally believe that there will be, media will cover it. You're going to see articles in the Daily News, the New York Times, you're
Time
going to see
Magazine,
it in Post,
all
you're
the,
going to see it. You're going to hear it. You're going to see
Pro
it on
and
TV.
con. You
Well,
will see right-wing
think
people
you're
saying,
going to-
well, we think this is just terrible.
Well, people will do that, but I think the general media will state it as a fact that this law has been passed and transgender people are now protected. Even though we've had the regulations to protect us, I think there will be a media swell, if you will. And what I do think is that a lot of our media now is through like cable news networks. And what that brings is that usually brings a phone call to someone like Tanya. Hey, would you like to be on TV and talk about the
And
passing
Tanya
of this
appears
bill?
on
that-
many
right,
cable
exactly.
programs.
So what ends up
discussing.
happening is that now at 11 p.m. on the news, the public, before they go to sleep, are watching a newscast with Tanya.
Yes.
And so I think that there's going to be a good opportunity to make people aware.
But just as racism, we do not live in a post-racist world. I don't think we will, for a long time to come, live in a post-transphobic world. Do you?
No, I would totally agree with what you're saying. There are within New York State, I can tell you that my organization, Gender Equality New York, is doing transgender forums across the state.
I know, and you're great. You are great. You travel from Hamlet to Hamlet,
Yes.
whistle stop to whistle stop,
Yeah.
to tell people.
Well, at the forums, what we attempt to do is we do, first of all, a Trans 101. There's a PowerPoint presentation, and we allow the audience to ask questions. These forums are not, I say they're not for the LGBT community. I don't mean it that way. They're, of course, invited. But specifically, we're trying to place these forums in places where the cisgender general public will attend.
Aren't you afraid, though?
No, not at all.
We need them to attend, and we need those trainings done by trans people.
Exactly.
We don't need them done. I know there's trainings going on in New York City, and they're done by cis people. And I think that's dangerous. We need trans people in the room doing the trainings.
Well, that's the part. So that part of the training is great, and we do that, and it gives the audience concepts. It gives them definitions. It gives them words. One of the first things we talk about is the term cisgender.
Right.
Because still a good portion of the general public has no idea what cisgender means.
Which means, what does cisgender mean?
Well, cisgender, if we go back to that moment of birth for all of us, the baby comes out and a doctor or a nurse yells, it's a boy or it's a girl. And someone goes either to a chart or now probably to a computer, and they pop in the identification of the genitals, which for everyone's purpose is supposed to be your gender.
Unlike the intersex folk who are sort of...
That's another situation altogether. So a cisgender person is someone whose personal identity, or what we call gender identity, matches that designation that they got at the moment of birth.
In other words, we would all be men if we were cisgender.
Correct.
Yes.
Right. We would be.
We three,
The
yes.
three of us would be. But transgender is just the opposite. Transgender are people who are born and given a designation at birth that does not match the gender identity, the personal identity that they have inside. So giving that information to the audience, I think, is powerful, and allowing them to ask questions about concepts and things is what we do. But then once that's done, we have a panel of community members between 5 and 8 people. And they have between 5 and 8 minutes to tell their story. For someone like me who's a little bit older, I can't tell my story in 5 to 8 minutes, but I can tell a chapter. I can tell you a story, something that was really important to me. For our younger people who are community members, especially the non-binary community, they have an opportunity to tell a whole lot of stuff because their life is much shorter and has had a lot less experience.
And non-binary is one who does not identify as male or female, but simply as human.
Correct.
And they are under the LGBTQ umbrella. You do not have to, we do not believe in gender fundamentalism or gender fascism. We do, unlike many in the straight world, be yourself, you know.
Exactly. So after each of the panelists has had an opportunity to tell their story, we then again open questions to the audience. And our mission is to make sure that when those people leave, they have no more questions, they understand the concept of gender, and perhaps, we hope, some of the stories have touched them emotionally.
Well, now let me ask you, do fundamentalist people or troublemaking young men ever, you faggot, get off the stage, you know?
It can happen, and we're prepared for that.
What do you do?
Well, obviously, the first thing we want to do is try and shut them down. I mean, that as moderator of these and the driving force behind this educational process, I pretty much take over as needed. And if we had to, I mean, we could certainly call the police and have them removed.
Would the police come?
Oh, I believe so.
Oh, I hope
believe so. We've actually had really good success with the police. I mean, we do a lot of demonstrations on Long Island, and we always call ahead. We let the police know what we're going to be doing. We always have officers pull up and go, "Hi, just want to let you know we're here. Thank you, officer. We really appreciate it." And I will tell you one
It's
story.
never said in a warning tone, like,
No.
watch it, lady.
No.
We're here.
No. Remember, Suffolk County has protections, and they know about it.
But Nassau does not.
Nassau does not, but I have to tell you that the Nassau Police Department has been amazing, and I will tell you one additional thing. In September, I did my 20th class, recruit class at the Nassau County Academy, Police Academy. So we're training them very early.
Get them while they're young.
While they're still a recruit.
Baby officers.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't have that problem. I will tell you that one time we did do a demonstration, and after the demonstration was over, we're walking away, and a cop car kind of pulls up, and window rolls down, and the officer says, "I think I may be trans. What should I do?"
Wow.
That was pretty awesome.
And hopefully you advised him or her.
Yeah, we did what we could.
Was it a man or a woman?
It was a man.
Ostensibly a man, but actually
a
right.
woman.
Well,
it was a woman.
It
Presenting as a
appeared
man.
to be a cisgender male police officer.
Yes.
They appeared.
More than that, I can't say.
Whatever you might think of Caitlyn Jenner, she has done a world of good for us because she was, in quotes, the ideal male. And she transitioned to female, and that made everyone think.
But not without struggle and fight. I mean, she was married, 4 times? She struggled with her identity.
Yes, but my point
For a
is that
little while,
no one
right.
would expect.
Right.
They would
Right.
expect the neighborhood hairdresser who's effeminate and small and, you know,
Right.
but not this Greek god to
in
suddenly
the
morph.
70s, in
Right.
the 70s,
Yes.
he was the epitome
Yes.
of a cisgender male.
Yes.
Powerful.
Bruce was.
Exactly. In the 70s.
Right.
He was, a gold medal winner.
Yes.
And respected.
And Renee
beloved.
Richards was the epitome of a successful man in the medical world as
right.
Richard
Right.
Raskin.
Exactly.
So Dr. Richard
Exactly.
Raskin.
Exactly.
Now Dr. Renee Richards.
Right. But that's a whole nother story.
Yes.
But anyway, so
You're doing pretty well yourself. You are quite a successful business person.
I have in the past. I'm retired now, but
Well, no, baby, now your real work starts.
yeah, well, that's true. So a lot of people don't realize that there's other legislation that's necessary to protect our community. And we've put together, Gender Equality in New York has put together 15 different legislative items that we would like to see in the future. Now, to be perfectly blunt, many other organizations have come up with a lot of this information.
Can we
for
very
us.
quickly read perhaps the most important since we only have about 10 minutes
Sure.
left?
Well, we can do it really quick. We can do the whole
Sounds-
list really quick.
Let's do it.
Okay. Banning gay panic defense. Maybe not everyone understands what that is, but right now it is a legal defense for people who say that they had an evening with someone who might be transgender, and then, oh my God, I found out that they're transgender, and I lost my mind and I murdered them. So that's an issue for our community.
Yes.
It's also known as a gay panic or trans panic defense. Expanding gender-neutral restrooms in all public spaces. It would just mean that single-stall, single-person bathrooms, instead of having a male or a female sign on it, would now all of a sudden be open to everyone.
And that would negate
Gender
the
neutral,
Houston law, the North Carolina law, all of those.
All that. Okay. Dignity and safety for all drivers is adding an X in gender so that there would be male, female, and X for those of us who are non-binary. Banning conversion therapy. Stopping the conversion therapy, which is very harmful for our young people. Improving school gender policies. Even though Dignity for All Students Act was passed, there still is a lot of loopholes.
God knows
within the
I
system.
was certainly bullied in school.
Exactly, exactly. Competency training for agencies serving LGBTQI youth. Forcing them to go through some training, more than just a slide or two which tells about transgender people.
Right.
Enhancing data and understanding of LGBTQ New Yorkers. How about the fact that we're not measured in census or any of the other type of numbers? Every time it comes up about our community, they go, well, we don't have numbers to prove
Well,
that or
I
disprove
myself wrote where it said sex, female but born male, I am transgender. That may have just discounted my entry, I don't know, but that's what I did in 2010.
it. Right, but that's part of our problem. Here's an important one. Restoring honor of LGBTQI veterans. 53 state benefits are directly contingent upon a veteran's discharge status. And as we know, before transgender became a part of the military, and
Right.
God knows what's going
Don't
to
ask,
happen now in the
don't
future.
tell, yes.
Exactly. Those people who may have been kicked out of the service because they were transgender or gay have lost 53 state benefits. This would restore them. An important point.
Wow.
Creating authority for birth certificate
Excuse me,
changes.
and
Sure.
Tanya is an Army veteran.
Yes, I am. I'm a veteran. And, you know, NYTAG, New York Transgender Advocacy Group, is working on the same or
Many of
similar
these, many of
platform,
these, many of these.
along with
Absolutely, absolutely.
Julie grey-owens. And, you know, we see eye to eye. This is all necessary.
Yeah.
And great work.
Thank you.
Oh,
Julie,
you were
great
okay.
work.
Yeah.
Okay. Creating authority for birth certificate changes. Again, adding an X, especially for those who are intersex.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
And-
I must say that Governor Cuomo did allow us to change our birth certificates.
But no X's yet.
No, but
You
I
have to get
chose
that.
female
Right.
as opposed to male.
Right. And the other thing is that we're hoping that instead of having to get a letter from your doctor or
Right.
your mental health professional,
Well, yes.
you would just be able to go, I want an X.
Yes.
End of story.
But I was more than happy to change in case I want to travel, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And I, in the process, changed my name from my male name to my female name.
Right. Affirming intersex rights, eliminating unnecessary surgery on intersex children.
Yes.
Right.
We could take a whole show on that.
Yes.
How about the Child's Victim Act?
Which is?
The Child's Victim Act would make it easier for young people who were molested when they were children.
Yes.
Now as adults, because there's a time limit to being able to claim that someone molested you.
Right.
I was
it would
molested
open
in
the gate-
1962 by a priest
Oh, that's
in
going to be
summer
a fight.
camp.
Right. Exactly.
That's going to be a fight.
Absolutely.
Because those.
But we're not the only. A whole
that's
group
gonna
of
be a fight, but
cisgender
I
people
agree
are fighting
with
for
it.
this
Yes,
as well.
yes.
Right. That's
Okay.
good.
No condoms as evidence.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
For our-
ridiculous. Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Well, of course,
That's
but
insane.
upstate New York is different than New York City.
Yes.
Let's not forget that. How about transgender and gender non-binary culturally competent employment development program? This is something that NYTAG is working on
Right.
very much so for a program for employment that will keep transgender
We
people
need
trained.
jobs.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And
Jobs.
finally, mandating transgender, gender non-binary, and intersex sensitivity training for healthcare providers. Too many doctors graduate out of medical school and know nothing at all about our community.
I once, in 1996, went to the hospital on 70th Street and York Avenue, whatever it's called, because I had a lump in my breast, and my card said female. The woman behind the counter literally cut it in half and gave me a card that said male.
Wow.
And that was in 1996 in New York City on the Upper East Side.
Wow.
Well,
And the
there's a lot
lump
of work
turned
to
out
do.
to be nothing.
And these young doctors, I was told, really want to learn about transgender people in the medical schools. They want to know about us, but they're not getting the training.
Correct.
Yeah.
So these are pieces of legislation or ideas for legislation that we're currently working
How
on.
long have you been transgender?
all my life.
But I mean, living as. Or at least
the problem is that for most of my life, I was what I call dual gendered, which meant that I had a successful life as a cisgender male, and I had.
You were an engineer, I believe.
Well, I was an engineer, and I was a manager for manufacturing and also in sales.
Wonderful.
For 40 years. So.
So much for the idea that we're flighty, stupid idiots.
Well, I have an engineering degree and an MBA.
Wonderful.
So, but anyway, be that as it may. So I was living like a dual life. I felt like I was, sometimes I felt like I was James Bond, or Jamie Bond, maybe, perhaps.
Right.
But, so that was really hard. My life now has obviously become a lot more integrated.
And you were married and had children and everything.
Oh, yeah, I have a daughter. Beautiful daughter.
Wonderful. It's interesting that when you mention a daughter, it's always beautiful daughter. When you mention a son, boy, is he brilliant. No one ever says, I have a beautiful son, and my daughter is brilliant. We're being unconsciously sexist.
Right. Well, I mean, I truly believe that she's beautiful, but I don't mean it from a standpoint of, oh my God, she's Marilyn Monroe or something. I mean it from a standpoint of, she currently is a director at a hospital for nutrition and food services.
That's another thing they have to teach in medical school. They don't teach nutrition.
Right.
Which is terrible.
But
I see doctors from the hospital across from the studio buying shit hamburgers and everything.
Right. But my point is that when I speak with her about her job, she cares so much about the patients in that hospital. And she cares about the people that work for her, too.
Good.
So when I talk about beautiful, I'm talking about the
all
whole
over.
Inside out.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
The heart, beautiful heart.
Yep.
How long have you transitioned?
It's been since 1989.
And this is 2018.
Yep, since 1989. I transitioned way back then. It was rough.
Yeah.
You know.
I transitioned in 1971 and 75 in the sense that I started hoping to be mistaken for a girl in 1971 when I was 15, but then started taking hormones with Dr. Harry Benjamin, the man who invented the process, in 75, so when I was 19.
Just to, to look like yourself, to be yourself, It's rough. It was rough. It was really rough, We had to buy hormones on the street or from a pharmacist.
I never did that because that is very dangerous. A beautiful woman named Candy Darling, Warhol superstar, couldn't afford to go to a doctor. She bought black market hormones on the street. She died of cancer at the age of 29. Now we have places like Callan Lord and Mount Sinai and other places where one can access hormones for free via Medicaid. That was not the case in Candy Darling's day. But somehow, I had no money, but somehow I found the money to go to the most reputable doctor in existence at that time, the man who invented the process.
Thank God.
Well, yeah, So I'll walk. I won't take the bus, but I'm going to that good doctor,
Right.
which is why I'm alive now.
Really a smart move.
Yeah.
Really a smart move.
But we went to, what was that doctor's name down there on the east side?
Dr. Wesser, Dr. Chris Schooler.
There was another
Risch.
Dr. Risch.
Yes.
Dr. Risch. I used to go to Dr. Risch, and there was another doctor down there. There was another doctor we used to go to down there, other than Dr. Risch. And the nurse used to give us the shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used to buy
But that
shots.
was okay. That was okay.
Yeah.
Because that was a pro operation and he
Yeah.
was a real doctor,
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so how long have you been on hormones?
Clock is still ticking.
Well, yeah, but I mean, when did you start? That's what I'm saying.
No, clock is still ticking.
What do you
I
mean?
haven't done.
You don't do hormones?
Nope. Dun, dun, dun.
You look fantastic.
Well,
Right.
thank you very much.
My God.
When we talk about
Genetic marvel here.
right,
You
when we
look
talk
great.
when we talk about gender transition, everyone thinks that you have to get way over here
Yes.
to be a part of the community. And one of the things that we talk about in our trainings is that there are many stages along the line. In fact, there's an infinite number of
That's
ways
why we're
to transition.
transgender, not transsexual.
Right.
Chop,
Exactly.
chop, snip,
Right,
snip.
Exactly. So some of us, maybe because of health, maybe because of job, maybe because of cost, maybe because of family, they're all different reasons.
But you realize you're genetically blessed.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you're more passable than most women, you know?
Okay, I'm another privilege. I mean, I've got them all.
And
now.
you're white, and you're yes. Blah, blah, blah.
And able-bodied.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I have the whole. I have the complete set
Yes.
of privilege.
Yes, but
you know?
maybe, you know, you were a beggar in Calcutta 500 years ago in a previous life, and you
It
earned
could be.
this nice life.
It could be. It
Yeah.
could be. You know, I'm blessed. I know that I have privilege, and I try to use that privilege to
And
help
that's
my
great.
community.
And that is fantastic.
Yeah.
And that is fantastic.
That's
That
what
is
we all have
really
to do.
good.
We have to really, you know, it's not about us, it's about the community. It really is. The work is about the community, and seeing that gender is past, and Julie's been fighting hard. I've been fighting hard.
I've been fighting hard.
You know.
You know, I started this show.
Wow.
In 1990, I started this show because I wasn't seeing us. There was no us on television. So I started this show, and now there was us. And now the National LGBT Archives at the Center in New York has the Diana Montford collection. You can see us 30 years ago, 20 years ago, us.
Amazing.
So we have a history now.
Yeah. Because of you.
And so where
If
is
it
her
hadn't
award?
been me, it would have been someone else.
She should be the award-winning Diana Montford.
Yeah. But anyway, just give me a ham sandwich and $2 and I'm happy. No, I'm kidding.
Have you ever gotten an award?
Yeah, 2. One from Rebecca Seawright, one from Mark Green many years ago.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't want awards. I don't care. If it hadn't been me, it would have been someone else. My point is,
I don't necessarily agree with that. I'm
Why?
sorry. Well,
Right.
because
I'm with you.
when I was younger and just started out in the advocacy business,
we only
if
have
you
a
will,
minute left.
very quickly, I kept waiting for that person that was going to lead us to the promised land.
Or
Right.
Hollywood. Pick
Well,
one.
whatever.
Yeah.
And no one came around, so
Action.
it was like, well, guess
Yeah.
I better get started. So I don't know that that's true.
Anyway,
Yeah.
my guest has been famous transgender activists Ms. Julie Grey-Owens and Ms. Tanya Walker, both of whom have founded foundations, and they are great, and you can look them up on the internet, and you should. And I love you a lot. Even if no one else loves you, I love you, and they love you. Hey, you're with us, you know, you're safe. Wherever you live, contact us. We're here for you. You're our sister or our brother or our sibling if you're non-binary.
Right.
And anyway, as I've said, my guests have been Ms. Julie Grey-Owens, Ms. Tanya Walker, both of whom have founded world-renowned foundations for the betterment of trans folk and the education of non-trans folk regarding trans folk. I'm Diana Montford. This has been the Diana Montford Show. Love you a lot. See you next time. Bye.